You're listening to a CNA podcast.
Now, a letter to myself with Joel Chua.
Hi there, and thanks as always for your company. You know, dementia has traditionally been seen as a condition affecting the elderly. But we learned recently that more relatively younger people are being diagnosed with the condition. About 3,700 people here in Singapore are estimated to have young onset dementia, which is when the condition develops in a person under the age of 65. One of them is our guest, Alison Lim, who was diagnosed with a type of dementia that primarily affects speech. But as you'll hear, she's found effective strategies to manage her specific condition. In her earlier years, Alison was a top corporate executive and consultant in the hospitality sector. Well, shortly after her diagnosis in 2016, Alison and her daughter, Jamie Buitelaar, founded Dementia & Co. It's an organization that supports others facing a similar journey. Alison begins by recounting when they first started noticing something unusual during a family holiday.
Jamie noticed that I was calling, first of all, guacamole, Guatemala, and I didn't notice that at all. And so when she said, "Mom, you mean guacamole?" And I said, "No, yeah, it's exactly what I said." I didn't even realize that. So that was in 2012, and throughout that whole 3 weeks trip, I was actually tripping all over my words.
There were a bunch of others, yeah. I think Pavarotti kind of comes to mind. There were a few others.
Yes.
What was your age at that point in time, Alison and Jamie?
Maybe mid
Quick maths.
mid 50s.
Mid-50s?
Yeah.
I was in my early teens. I guess.
Early teens.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, like at this point of time, I now clearly remember even 30 years before, I had incident of suddenly not being able to speak or find words. And there were 2 occasions I can remember distinctly getting very confused and not being able to name names whom I'm very familiar with. I was doing quite a big presentation and I just couldn't find words or names. And then at another time when we had a board meeting with the Kempinski group, I suddenly couldn't find the English words, neither the Chinese. So it's strange because at that point of time, the chairman would say, "Oh, Miss blah, blah, blah," because I couldn't find my words.
And what was your age at that point in time when this incident happened?
This was like in my 30s.
Even in your 30s?
Yes.
Right, so the initial symptoms
already started then, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. If I can go back to Jamie at this point in time, Jamie, that experience that your mom and yourself, you were recounting earlier about when you were on holiday and the words guacamole and Guatemala got jumbled up.
Yeah.
You were in your teens as a young person observing this in your mother. What was going through your mind? What were you feeling?
At that point of time, absolutely nothing. Because it didn't occur to any of us, like either of us, that it might be a symptom of something. So it was just... like we laughed about
Funny,
it.
yes.
It was an ongoing joke for the rest of the trip. Any time that a word would get jumbled up, we would say, "Haha, Guatemala." It was like the running gag. And it wasn't until she actually got diagnosed or was like looking into it later on that we kind of thought back to that and went like, "Oh no."
Yeah, it was quite a few years later that I suddenly was calling everything the phone. I got up one morning and I said to my husband, "Can you bring my phone from upstairs?" And then he said, "Where?" And I said, "Oh, beside the phone." And Jamie was downstairs and she said, "Mom, you're holding your phone." And I said, "No, my phone." And that day I was calling the car the phone, the fridge the phone, the table the phone, and again, a very funny incident. But because I was actually already working with people with dementia. I mean, I have been throughout my life since I was a kid. I was already out at Woodbridge Hospital, IMH right now, supporting them. And I'm always very curious about mental health and neuro issues. And also my husband's brother-in-law was diagnosed just 2 years before with Alzheimer's at age 54. So I was very curious and I started, searching for neurologists. I couldn't get any appointment. And then slightly after that, I was saying, put the table on the cup put the car in the key, and then it got more strange. And so fortunately, somehow I found a very good neurologist and went to him. And after, an hour and a half, he said, "You don't have an issue. You're actually much better than me." And I said, no, this is not right. So he put me through a blood test. And the week after, the blood test was fine too. And I said, that week, the language went even further, right? And he said, and these are real words, "If you insist, we can put you through an MRI." And then I went through the MRI. Results came back, and he had a shock. And maybe there's a little hole in your left hippocampus. And he said, "Let's just do a PET scan to check the activities there. And in the meantime, there's a person who just returned from the States, and he's fairly familiar with different types of dementia. And maybe you should see him, a neuropsychologist." So I really, hurried to get an appointment with him. And after 3.5 hours with him, he was the first one who told me that I have PPA, which is primary progressive aphasia. And then the week after, the PET scan came back and reconfirmed that this is what I had. Yeah.
At that point in time when you received the diagnosis, what went through your mind and what were your emotions?
Oh, I was relieved. Thank God, because I was trying to find out what is happening. And I suspected, something neuro was happening. That's why I went to see a neurologist. And I was so relieved. Now I have something to work on. But he warned me not to look into the Google or search for anything because, this was 8-9 years ago. And really, it was quite frightening to go in there. But because when my husband's brother-in-law was diagnosed, I actually prepared a program for him. And I did all kinds of research myself, not because he had Alzheimer's. So I thought I was prepared. And the first thing was, okay, what do I have to do to hand over things? And how do I prepare Jamie for the journey, right? And it still gets me. So when we came out from the clinic, that was when I was telling her, "Oh, don't worry, darling, we will be fine." But when I held her, she was like frozen, completely frozen, and her eyes were terrified, right? And then I realized this journey is not about me. It's actually more about her. So I really had to get prepared for her. And I thought, okay, I can still handle it. But within months, I was not the same person, because when I was diagnosed, I thought I was given 5 to 8 years. So I should have some time. And I'm a fairly good operator. I'm a good administrator. I plan everything. And within 2 years, I should be able to get everything, documentary things done, and also prepare her. But soon I found out that I cannot understand myself. The words were not coming. Even the simplest word was not there. And then the sentences get mixed up. And then I got lost. And I brushed my teeth 3 or 4 times. Or I showered, and then I go back and shower again. But I was very fortunate because I had friends all over the world. And we found somebody in Northwestern University who got us into the communications bridge program. But also at this university, they have a huge center called the Marcel Muslim Center. And this person, Marcel Muslim, is the person who founded PPA, which is what I am diagnosed with. So I was fortunate to be able to be on the Zoom, and also in the early days, they only had a few Americans there, and I was the first foreigner on the program. So, and then they invited me to Munich for the FTD, which is PPA is under frontal temporal dementia. And at that conference, I met with scientists, neurologists, all kinds of experts in this region, all over the world. And they had scientific findings, and I was taking photographs, learning, talking to every single person. So then my brain was like, okay, now I can really learn about this. And it was so interesting.
Yeah.
It was not all about Alzheimer's. It was about all different types of dementia and how it can affect somebody's life in so many ways.
It sounds like you were really on a mission.
Yes.
What was that mission?
I didn't realize that then. But when I got into finding all these things, I thought, okay, there's something that we can do. But of course, all the scientists is telling you there is no hope. We are all searching, or we are hoping to find a drug. I'm not a drug person. I don't even take Panadol. but after looking at all the researchers and the brain scans and the photographs of the brain and all that, I was so amazed on how things work internally, right? And also in Singapore, I started also joining different research program, NNI with NUH, Cheng Hospital, and then I was in the Sydney University program. I found in UK with the Rare Dementia Support Group. So I was in touch with a lot of people. But what occurred to me was I don't have a memory issue. I didn't know that. Because, when you think of dementia, everybody thinks of memory issue. And I suddenly, from all the papers, all the research, and my own findings, I suddenly realized I actually cannot call Jamie's name. I cannot call my daughter by name. I cannot call my sister by name. And I was so worried. So like I said, I shouted a few times. Then I realized my issue is with language. And the reason why I cannot call her name is I blanked out. I cannot, it's like walking into a very, very dark room and everything is right there. But I cannot see it. I cannot find it. However, when I walked up to the second floor, when the lights are on, I can find another name like clean. I can come out with meticulous. The sad thing is with Jamie, I cannot call her by another name.
Right.
So I call her my sister's name, Alice.
Yeah.
And then I realized it is because of the emotion that I associate the two of them. So when I cannot find one, I can find the other because they have the same emotion in me. The researchers in like 4 different programs that I was in, they asked me to write 30 words each time and try to recall it. And I tell them afterwards, I said, no, this doesn't work because it's like studying Chinese, like Sidu, in the old days, it doesn't work.
Memorization.
Correct. So what worked is actually putting emotion in there. And so I always like to tell people that, I went to the kitchen, I'm very kiasu that I don't have things to eat. So I went to the kitchen first. And like the stove, the first thing I wrote down, and I create sentences myself, I said, Jamie burnt her hand when she was 3 years old. And she stared at me and did not cry. And I was so, so sad because what have I done to this child who's so afraid of me that she didn't even dare to tell me she's in pain, right? But that
Emotion.
And then I use that for everything else. And also I meditate. And suddenly the words came back and I started throwing bombastic words around.
That's amazing, Alison. I want to ask Jamie at this point in time. I saw you, nodding your head, at certain points in your mother's sharing. Hearing and seeing your mother so driven, to manage this condition, right? What goes through your mind? What goes through your heart?
The thing that I'd always heard about dementia is that it takes people from themselves and from the people around them, and that it's always shown as this thing that will kind of steal a person. What goes through my mind is this is the person I've always known my mom to be. She's always been this driven. She's always been exactly like that towards anything, And so at first I was really afraid. It's interesting when you say like, oh, your eyes were really terrified. I thought that I had poker faced successfully at the time of the diagnosis. I really thought that I was looking, all I wanted to do was just listen and be like, what do you want now? And so I thought I had my very good game listener face on, and it turns out that I looked super scared, it seems. And what I was scared of was that, we were going to lose the person that my mom is. So seeing this response was like, you don't lose her, you get her even more. It's like, I love that. That makes me really happy,
Yeah. But I was fortunate because at that point of time, she was still in school. I mean, she was boarding Yale and US.
In university, so I was living on campus.
Yeah, so she's not home, which is a good and bad thing. Yeah. So then she doesn't have to experience the struggles. Because when I was in that first year, it affected me physically as well.
I'm sure.
I had huge headaches. I had sparks. Yeah, and I was lying down, for the whole day for months, and I went out with my head in my hand, So, yeah.
It's interesting because to me, I was doing a very good job of telling myself that, okay, I'm gonna be there for my mom. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna hear whatever. And like the reality was that I was completely frozen. Like in retrospect, I realized I was really in denial. So I would kind of hang back at school a lot, and like I knew that I wanted to go home and like be around and stuff. And at the same time, there was something deeper in me that didn't want to go home, and so I had this sort of back and forth going on where. It's the thing I think that I regret the most from that time period, that I didn't just go and just do anything.
Yeah. But I was happy that you were not there.
To sort of be.
At what point in time, Jamie, did you feel comfortable to take that step back?
Ooh, I think it wasn't comfort that did it. It was discomfort that did it. Because it wasn't a sense of like, okay, now I've gotten to a point where I'm ready. I realized that, we talk about that first year where a lot of symptoms developed very quickly, and there were a lot of things that were very visible that were changing. And eventually, I think I kind of just hit a breaking point where I just realized that I think the thought that came into my mind was like, do anything, just do something, but don't do nothing.
Yeah.
Do something, do anything in the hope of what?
I mean, there were a lot of hopes at the time to improve the either the quality of life or like reduce symptoms, but I think I wasn't thinking about it so clearly. It was just that I was just latching onto like whatever I could. So when you sort of came up with and you said to me that first time, I don't have a memory issue, I have a word issue, then I thought, words, I have word games. Yes. We can play a word game. Yeah. And it was just the first thought that came to mind.
Yeah. The one time that I really lost my way and I was crying and screaming and called my husband and said, I'm really scared. And then he said, where are you? Let me know where you are. I'll come pick you up. And that really threw me off. I was, at that point of time, I thought, okay, this is it. I just throw myself into the highway and finish, because really nobody can help me. But funny enough, I don't know how I even went to the volunteer work that I did. I didn't know how I got there. I didn't know how I got back. But I know from then onwards, like maybe the next day, I was so calm. I was so collected, and I knew I had to be the one to do something. And then I started to meditate more, and then it comes to me even more, and I somehow knew that I am the one responsible. And I start telling myself, this dementia did not come from anywhere else or anybody else. It came from me with my lifestyle, my own living, my own frustrations that I created. So the one thing I need to do is look after myself. And then I was able to clear my head, focus on things that I need to do, accept things, and I stopped quarreling with people. I talk openly, and then I decided, okay, I need to go out and find more people. I need to find a lot more, and I have a lot of information that I'm checking in myself. So then I search for experts, and then I look for. I sit outside of NNI and the neurologist's office and wait for people and start talking to them, invite them home.
At this point in time, Alison, you earlier shared that you were diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, which is a condition that affects speech.
Yes.
But of course, the remarkable thing is that you're communicating crystal clear.
Yes.
So, explain that. Explain that. It's been how many years since the diagnosis?
8 years.
8 years.
This is the 9th year,
And,
actually.
Yeah, just listening to you, no one would have a clue.
No.
Explain, please.
Yeah, I had a good nap before I came here, so I'm prepared. But my head goes off every now and then, and especially when I'm affected emotionally, it runs off. But I am able now to know when I'm tired, what things trigger me, so I can look after myself. But the main thing is, I don't get frustrated with myself. I used to cry a lot in public toilets when I cannot communicate. I get angry with myself. I'm so sad and I'm struggling and I create more issues for myself. Now I have learned that all those things does not help. So the one thing that helps is I laugh at myself and I laugh at other people who do not understand or who know. So my life is wonderful today because I understand my brain, I understand myself. Scientists tell us that there is no help. Science is about the unknown. I am really happy and curious about the unknown. So I search my brain. I work on every part. I know which part is in pain, what kind of pain it is, and where it comes from. And this sounds ridiculous to everybody, but I believe that with calmness through, for me, meditation, exercises, and really focused exercises, not about this rush and everything else, breathing, balancing, all these things bring me confidence. Yeah. And with the confidence, I am able to bring myself out and be relaxed.
Since you started doing this like meditation and these exercises in a more like targeted way, then I've also like joined and started doing it with my mom as well. And it works for me, you know.
Yeah,
So it has all of that effect on me as well. And it has also had quite a solid impact on our relationship.
Tell us more about that relationship. How has it evolved and changed over the years, especially since the diagnosis?
We have always communicated since day one. Before she was born, we have this woman-to-woman talk. But after my diagnosis, I've become far calmer and a better listener. And also, because of my own issues, I'm able to understand her issues much better as well. So we are able to share and have a good dialogue. The good thing is, because of our past closeness, we're able to get angry without hurting the other person, you know. Right. So we can be angry with each other, we can be sad, whatever, but we know we are there for each other. And we always end up, after 1, 2, 3 hours, really, really even closer every single time. So
definitely, there's always been space for whatever feeling within the relationship. And I think for me, especially like growing up, because I've been in this relationship since I was born, you know, so I was not always an adult in this relationship. In fact, for most of it, I was not an adult. So all of the wild feelings and, you know, emotions that I've been through before I had any sort of handle on myself, there was always space for them there. Yeah. So that's the precedent that we have coming into this, where there are going to be a lot of emotions about the topic of dementia, about like all of the related things, and then of course about just generally going through life. And because that precedent is there, I'm not afraid, she's not afraid to like share those things in the relationship.
So she's my float. So, you know, like this partnership is the most important, because without having somebody to discuss things or to tell things to, or about my pain or my fears and things like that, I will have to capture it myself, and that would be very difficult. Right. And that's why when we started Dementia & Co., that was the key thing that we want to introduce to people, that we get people into our homes with their families to meet us, and we can discuss openly about their issues as well, and let them talk about their challenges, and everybody else can understand that we're not alone to start with, but also we also have different challenges. And because of the knowledge that I have gained from all the other, scientists, etc., I'm able to transfer that to them and explain that your dementia is different from the other dementia. You have different symptoms, and also the journey will be different from somebody with vascular dementia.
I will jump in also to say that that's a place where we can have the conversations that are necessary. So when it comes to something like dementia, you need to have very clear conversations about, for example, we've talked about what might happen in the future, what
very
to
end.
do, all the way along. Yeah. And when different symptoms appear, how we're going to communicate, if ever, language is an issue, what kind of, and all the way to
if I have to go into a nursing home, I choose to go to a nursing home.
I'm still
when the
struggling
time
with that.
comes, and I want to take that responsibility away from her. That even, and with my other forum, we just discussed it a few days ago. That at that point of time, I may even react differently. I may not want to go, but she must have the authority and the knowledge that in my right mind, in my logical sense now, I have decided to do that. And that it is not her decision, it's not her responsibility, it's my responsibility that I have said I want to go into the nursing home earlier rather than later.
Thank you for sharing that, Alison. And Jamie, when your mom shared, that this is a decision that she's made at this point in time, and you shared also very candidly and authentically that you're still struggling with that.
Yeah, and I struggle with it within this relationship. I mean, it's not the first time that we've had this conversation. I know that that's the decision, and I'm not going to, because we've discussed why. So I'm not struggling with it in that I'm fighting against it. I understand it. This is a conversation that we've had. We're on the same page. The difficulty that I have is there's also that emotion of I want to do it. I would prefer not to be away from her and to, and of course that doesn't mean that, when somebody's in a nursing home that you are away from
No, but
them.
also, here goes Singapore government. We need to have more better homes that we can, really a home and not like nursing home of the old days, right? The facilities are going to change, and I'm going to go in there and have a lot of fun, and I'm going to facilitate the programs for everybody as well, before it's too late.
And I know that you will.
Yeah, and pay it forward.
There's no way that you will not.
Pay it forward. So my thinking is always that I want to pay forward everything, and the next group of people should also come in earlier so that they can take over, right? It's just like our forum training that other people now can start training another group. So this expansion can go worldwide also.
Well,
I also have groups in UK and Australia and
It's amazing.
New Zealand. But yes, I believe that the nursing homes will change, and I don't want people to be terrified about nursing homes, and also that I'm such an inferior, is it such
unfilial, not filial
person to send my mom into a nursing home. No, it can be a good thing. But of course, we have to do the research and also work with nursing homes today already to say what you can do to, for the better of everybody in the future.
Thank you.
I think on this front and also every other front, this is the thing that I think I admire the most about you, is that to me, you're a realist in the way that I've never heard the word realist used before, which is that I think you actually see what is actually there. So in this case, to me, that means what does filial mean? It means that you do the best for the person.
Yes.
And if what's going to be best is that person is their living arrangements are under somebody else's care, like for us, if you are living in a nursing home,
right.
If that means that I'm better able to show up when I come and see you and hang out with you, then our relationship will be better for that. What the most filial thing I can do is make sure that life is better for you and for me, because if it's better for me, then I'm going to show up better for you.
Yes, and also when you come and visit me, you'll be in the right mood.
Exactly.
You have the time. You're going to this 2 hours is for my mom, or you can take me out.
Yes.
Make sure.
I look forward to it.
Well, you still go dancing in my wheelchair, but still dancing, no problem.
But that's such you're looking at the real reality and not the kind of standardized version of what it should look like to be filial, or what dementia should look like, or what a good husband or daughter or wife or son should look like. It's about what is really going on with this person.
Our community is like that. So we have, you cannot see my shirt now, it says, love the new me. So even if, I have friends who have been in bedridden for 3 to 4 years, it's still a new me every day, and they're still lovable, and it's fine. And I still go sing and dance with them. And people in wheelchair who say, oh, cannot. No, we dance on the chair. And then finally, some people even stand up. Some people even start dancing. So, it doesn't matter what challenges we have. It's our spirit that counts.
Yeah. I love that tagline and the idea behind it. Love the new me.
Yes.
It's not about losing somebody. It's also about seeing this person through a different set of eyes.
Where I am right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember for me and love the new me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. At this point in time, right, if you could write a letter to yourselves based on the most important insights, lessons, perspectives that you've gained through this journey, what would be the most important message in this letter?
I would tell myself, continue to have a great time, be curious, and enjoy what you have, whatever the condition is, whatever physically or, enjoy and still learn. If not about the world, still about yourself, and also know that you had a great life. You had all the opportunities to explore so many things, including dementia, and you have so many superb relationships that has enriched your life so much that continue to enjoy that, especially a wonderful daughter. That relationship is just continue to enjoy that. And also not to forget our plan for the funeral, that we're going to have a big party.
Mm-hmm. I was going to put that in mine. I think that might be more relevant for me to remember, actually.
I can see how humor really is something that, a huge, beautiful and valuable resource in this
I'm serious.
Before I ask Jamie to share with us her letter to herself, right? I think many of our listeners, including myself, obviously, we're so curious. This ability, this remarkable, very unusual ability that you have to look at this situation that so many of us would look at with such negative lenses, but you've come to look at it through these lenses of positivity and optimism. Where did you get that from? I
don't know. I think since I was a kid. And people have told me this before. You're fine. My wife is now in a wheelchair, and she can hardly, she can't even recognize me. But I have also friends in this group who did not want to see anybody, stayed at home, and now enjoying and, the company, the group that we have. And also people telling me, wow, with the dementia, actually my husband and I are now spending real time together, and we appreciate that. So it's just a matter of, lost word. Perspective. Yeah, it's just a matter of looking at something differently, right? And I'm so happy with myself. I feel so free and so happy, because I think there is always the better side, the positive side. I was really tortured. I was in such a bad shape the first year. And because of that, I can understand other people better. Because of that, I treasure my presence much better, and that when something is not too right, I definitely make sure that I have enough more, really focus on my meditation and really get into my exercises. So I know what helps me, and it's so much easier.
Thank you.
I can jump in actually also, because when you say where does that come from? It's easy, and I know it's easy to do this because I do it a lot, to kind of look at you, Mom, and go like, wow, she has this positive outlook. Like, it's so wonderful, that she just has it. She doesn't. She works at it so much. I'm not going to say it is hard work, but she doesn't do it like hard work, but it takes a lot of doing to have that. And I can see that, when she comes back from like any event that she's been speaking at, when we come back from tea dances, whatever it is, she's like taking a nap immediately.
Okay.
She's out. You know, I'm there to kind of notice all the changes that have happened. And as much as, you know, she speaks really, really well, you speak wonderfully, but I'm clocking, you know, that, okay, there's one word where you conjugate it technically in an incorrect way, which nobody would catch, but you didn't do that 3 months ago, you know? And there's like, all these things are happening that at a cursory glance wouldn't be picked up, but they're absolutely happening. And the way that, you know, Mom, you're like making sure that, okay, I need a nap right now. So I have to be the one to tell other people that I need a nap and to like, I can't be talking right now. Even that is work, you know, and the work to make sure that you're exercising when you need to and that you're sleeping when you need to. And the mental work that takes is huge on top of managing the events that we do mostly by yourself, you know, because I'm working full time, that it is a lot of doing. It doesn't just happen.
Thank you for giving us that perspective as well. I think that's so important to know that there's so much discipline and hard work involved in maintaining, having the ability to maintain this spirit of positivity. Jamie, your turn now. That letter to yourself. What's the most important message that you'd say to yourself?
Funeral party, but also, actually, I think that kind of encapsulates it because I tend to be quite anxious, and like I mentioned when we first had that diagnosis, I didn't hide it well, that I really froze up. But through this time, what I've learned is to have fun. Not because, like, okay, well, this is happening, you got to make it fun. But rather, like, it's not going to work if it's not fun. I can be quite a serious person sometimes and feel that, you know, we got to take it seriously, you know? And the more that I try to, like, almost like wring the neck of a thing and like take it really seriously, the less it works. So I need to remind myself to just every time that I am with my mom, I need to have fun, like genuinely enjoy it, you know?
You need to create that space.
Yeah. To make it enjoyable so that I'm present, and also vice versa. If I'm present, then I can enjoy it. And if I'm enjoying it, that's the only way that we can both enjoy, you know? Yeah, I have to be, it's quite selfish actually to just make things fun, enjoyable, present. That's the reminder that I need and that I'm sure I will continue to need. But yeah, it's not going to work if I don't do that, you know?
Here's Alison with what she'd say in a letter to her future self.
You had a good time, and when it's time to leave, say goodbye in style. I think I don't worry about giving too much trouble to anybody, because if you should be in a state that you need support, accept support graciously and enjoy the support that you get. Plus, if possible, express it in any form that you can to anybody around who is giving you that support. And if possible, really take a good nap and leave. Yeah, and leave. And know that Jamie will be fine. She has her own life and she will be fine. So just leave.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Alison. At one point in what you just shared, I saw Jamie, and very enthusiastically giving the thumbs up sign and looking at you, you know, with a huge smile on her face. Jamie, what was going through your mind? What were you reacting to?
I feel like the minute you said it, I forgot. Hold on. I think it was that needing support and accepting support, because it reminds me to trust myself and trust my mom. and trust that I can take care of myself so that, I can do the things and she doesn't have to take care of me. Trust that I can take care of her, and trust that we trust in the communication that we've always had, because we, since forever, have not communicated only in words. We've communicated every way under the sun. So,
could you share with us a few examples? if it's okay.
Absolutely. We communicate through when we're holding hands, through how we will pinch or squeeze, and we even have created a little system where we'll use a
Pain.
Yeah,
You're
a poke of a
squeezing
finger.
Jamie's palm now.
Yeah, so to poke
squeezing
a
Jamie's
fingernail
palm.
means pain.
Okay.
There's pain.
And what kind of pain it is?
Yeah, so if it's pointed, it's a sharp pain. If it's moving back and forth, it's like a scratched pain, or and then a squeeze is like an
Okay.
aching pain.
Right. You've come up with your own your
Yes.
own language for each other.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
And when I was a baby, when my mom used to sing to me, she would always tap my arm along with how she was singing. And it's something that we even still do now, almost like as a reference to that, but it has continued since then. So having like a hand and touch based communication is like not foreign at all to come up with that kind of language, like a natural progression. Yeah. So I think what had me really going like, oh yeah, yes, is that knowing that you feel comfortable to have support and be supported, I also need to be comfortable to like know that, okay, I can understand and I can act. And so I do. And that's,
Yeah.
the biggest thing I would say to myself is like, trust yourself, and trust your mother, trust the relationship that you have, and have fun.
Yeah.
And just have fun.
Something completely out of this discussion. But when my mom was passing, I was with her in a hospital for 2 weeks. And the biggest joy, surprisingly, was cleaning her bum. One day I had to, I was just helping out the nurse all the time anyway. And then I had to clean her bum. And it was a kind of emotion that is so intense, that is so deep, that I didn't understand, but I still feel happy today. So, just for everybody to think, don't feel awful and terrible that somebody has to help you clean your bum, because I read Tuesday
With Maury.
That should not be a shameful thing or something that you feel awful about, that you have to get somebody else to clean your bum. No, she's going to clean my bum and I'm going to
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
It will be an absolute honor. I think, how many times did you clean my bum when I was a baby? What would the difference be between those two feelings? To me, I cannot imagine there would be a difference.
As long as you're ready.
Let's go. Here we go.
Not too soon.
You guys are remarkable. You guys are really remarkable. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing such intimate aspects of your relationship with us. And I'm very sure that many listeners, whether or not they are living with dementia or not, are going to find so much courage and inspiration from the work that the both of yourselves have put into your relationship, into managing this condition and supporting other people, so many other families along the way as well.
And they're supporting us, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, what are you most grateful for at this point in time? Maybe we can start with Jamie first.
I'm trying to say about 7 things at the same time. I think
The first one that comes to your mind.
they all came at once, man. I don't know.
Man.
I think I'm just grateful for my mom. I have never understood how I got so lucky, because I'm sure this is subjective, but it feels objective that I have the best mom. I think, and that it has always been since I was young. I don't think I ever had a phase where I was like, my mom sucks, because like my mom has always been incredible. And then through this like diagnosis and everything else, these last 8 years, she's just more incredible. It's like, I cannot quite believe it. And I think that's what I'm the most grateful for. It's just being able to, scientists say that you need to experience awe in your life because it is healthy for your mind. I don't have to go to a mountain to experience awe. I just look at my mom. So you're very healthy for me, I think. That's what I'm grateful for.
No, I'm just so grateful to have a partner in Jamie. How lucky can you be, with somebody by your side really throughout. And I'm grateful for everything that I have experienced. I'm so grateful to have experienced so many things in my life and survived quite nicely, touch wood. And yeah, I feel extremely lucky that I am so free. I have everything.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can subscribe and follow A Letter to Myself on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And leave us a review as well if you liked what you've heard. Till next week, I'm Joel Chua, signing off.